Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Bears Talk Today. I am joined by my co-host, Justin.
What up?
And unfortunately, the Bears suffered another drubbing this year, losing to the 49ers 38-13. You know, Justin, they say you're not going to win a lot of games where you score 13 points. You're not going to win a lot of games where you allow 38 points, and you sure as heck are not going to win any games when you do both in the same game.
Yeah.
Just an embarrassing effort. Truly, just historically poor first half for the Chicago Bears. At one point, they were outgained. I think it was 315-2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how you do that.
I walked more yards yesterday around my house than the Bears did in the first half. Just let that sink in.
Yeah, I mean, they gained 2 yards is 6 feet. Mm-hmm. So they gained probably the distance of this desk in a first half, which is that's just incredible. It's like laughable how kind of funny that is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much sense in necessarily reflecting on this game in the micro due to the fact that the Bears' season is over.
Yeah.
They're 4-9. Mathematically speaking, I suppose they're still alive in the playoffs, but I think there's a better likelihood of Selena Gomez knocking on my door wanting to go on a date than there is the Bears making the playoffs this year. So we called the season a couple weeks ago that it was over.
Yeah.
They lost 2 more games. Mm-hmm. It's over, Bears fans. I'm sure their playoff chances probably are in the low decimals at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, Justin, we have a lot to talk about in this episode.
Of course.
Again, we're going to talk about not so much in the micro of the game, but more so the macro of the season, of the team, direction going forward. But for your money, who is the most to blame for this loss against San Francisco?
Honestly, there's a lot of different areas I could point at, but we're just going to summarize it. The whole team deserves the loss.
Yep.
I'm talking about Thomas Brown. I'm talking about some other players on offense and defense. Blame the whole team, especially when we had a Thursday night game a few weeks ago. We had 3 extra days to practice, to prep, and get ready. The 49ers, I could see if this was the 12-3 49ers that we saw last year, NFC champions, but it's not. Mm-hmm. Christian McCaffrey is hurt. A lot of their players on the 49ers are injured. Mm-hmm. Yes, Brock Purdy came back. You still had Deebo Samuel, still had George Kittle. So, there was a little bit – it was a little bit more difficult, but it wasn't like they were at full strength. They were 5-7. Their playoff chances are practically over or almost over, depending on how their division plans out. But blame the whole team. I just think overall, if you look at the last few games before this one, we at least had a touchdown, a field goal.
We were respectable.
We were very respectable in wanting to at least put some points on the board, but to put none at all, that's just embarrassing.
They came out flat against Detroit in the first half, but then they were so good in the second half that it kind of overcompensated for a lot of that. And their defense, Detroit marched all the way down the field, but Detroit had to kick field goals. They weren't scoring touchdowns in the first half. And then the Bears in the second half got it going. San Francisco, not only did the Bears offense not do anything, but the Bears defense, it looked like there was 11 traffic cones out there that just let the 49ers do exactly what they want. Mm-hmm. They didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Isaac Guerrero looked like Christian McCaffrey yesterday.
He sure did,
Brock Purdy looked like Tom Brady. George Kittle is a fantastic tight end, one of the more underappreciated players, I think, in the league. So that's no surprise. But Jawan Jennings killed us, 7 receptions, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was kind of unbelievable. And I don't think the 49ers are in a better position than the Bears because their season is not over necessarily. They still have the ability. The West is close right now. The Seattle has the lead. The Rams are a game above them. And then, I think they very much have a chance to get back in it. But when you talk about the 49ers of the past few years, this season has been a huge letdown.
It has been.
5-7, the injuries they've had, the noise in the locker room.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of interesting because we talked about it a couple weeks ago and then it got more attention in the media. The Bears could maybe try to make a trade for Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
And I said if the Bears come out and play well against Shanahan, maybe he's impressed enough to consider a move to Chicago. Justin, this is like when you're at a party or at a bar with somebody and you see a cute girl and then your boy just embarrasses you so much to the point where you'll never have a chance with that girl. You just completely ruin the opportunity. You just embarrassed me in front of Kyle Shanahan, dude. And then after the game, he's going to say there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Sure.
Like that one pop song.
Yeah.
But it was an embarrassing effort. I really did believe that. And for the Bears, like you kind of have to just on your remote press fast forward, and click. You fast forward to the end of the year because it's gonna get ugly. And it was kind of phenomenal because I want to say it was 3 weeks ago. We looked at the Bears' schedule. We looked at how they were playing, and we said the Bears are not going to win another game. And, I deluded myself a little bit last week. I said, well, maybe they could beat San Francisco. San Francisco's kind of been in the dumps, and they mollywopped us. So I can definitively say I do not think the Bears are going to win another game this year.
No, I don't think so, too. And like I said last week, I think this was – you could technically say – this was the last game that we could have possibly won, and also the home game against Minnesota was the last one we were in that we could have possibly won as well.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Mike. I don't think they're going to win another game.
No.
I think we're going to be on the road and be 0 and whatever our record would be at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just do not see it, unfortunately.
No, and it's quite sad. And now I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, staying on the topic of, I guess, the Bears season. Before we get into our second segment, but do you think that Ryan Poles is on the hot seat? Because I have defended Poles. I think if you took a poll of all Bears fans, I would probably lean on the spectrum of defending Ryan Poles.
Yeah,
but it's kind of hard to look at this roster, the way they've played, the way they've performed, and think that maybe the Bears aren't as good as I thought personnel-wise. I understand their coaching's a disaster. I understand Thomas Brown is probably in over his head, which, by the way, Thomas Brown being the coach, that's gone.
Yeah.
That
for sure.
That is not happening. But I think to myself, I'm like, maybe these players aren't as good as I thought. And the one saving grace, the one thing you can always point to and say, the Bears or Ryan Poles did this right for the Bears was the Caleb Williams trade.
Of course.
I'm not giving up faith on Caleb Williams.
No.
Please, nobody mistake this. However, I'm looking at the Panthers. Bryce Young's playing pretty good.
He is.
And, the Bears draft picks other than Caleb Williams, like Tyreek Stevenson, is he that good? Darnell Wright, is he that good? I don't know. So again, I do think that they won the trade, but maybe it wasn't the slam dunk fleece all-time trade that we thought it was. And then if you're Ryan Poles, I saw a list of players that he had let go over the past several years. David Montgomery, he let walk in free agency.
Yep.
Traded Roquan Smith. You let Darnell Mooney go. Darnell Mooney's having a great year with the Falcons.
Yep.
Like a lot of these players that the Bears have had, traded away Khalil Mack for a second-round pick, and then used a second-round pick to trade for Chase Claypool. Like, these moves, like a lot of misses in here. A lot of misses.
Yeah.
And DeAndre Swift, I personally don't think that he's. I think DeAndre Swift is a player that would benefit with a team with a really good offensive line. Like,
yes, I agree.
He needs to be like in Detroit, in Philly, which is ironically the last two places he was.
Yep.
Or I think he would be great on like Kansas City or something.
Yeah.
He does not work on the Bears with this bad offensive line. I mean, there's way too many games where he's averaging. What did he average yesterday? He averaged 2.7 yards per carry. There's too many sub-3 yard per carry games for DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think Ryan Poles will be on the hot seat if he does not draft well. And we're going to go into this in our next segment, but it's really important. Obviously, he's made a lot of questionable trades and stuff like that. I agree with Mike as well. I do think he got the Caleb Williams pick correctly, and I feel like he's the best quarterback that we have ever. So I don't think he made a mistake on that, but I do think he made a mistake on, okay, let's build around Caleb and let's protect him. I mean, just looking at the game yesterday, there was one play where, like, he threw the ball and it slipped out of his hand.
Yeah.
Because of 49ers defense and their rush. Yeah. So when you are trying to rebuild the team, okay, first you get your generational quarterback. All right, you got that. Now it's time to look at what else around do I need to fix. Obviously, I think our defense has been really, really great this year. We've had some dull moments like yesterday and some other games before, but I still have faith that if we can hold this defensive core together for one more season, that we can actually be a great team. But, yes, defense does win championships, but you got to score some touchdowns to win games as well.
You got to win games to get to the championship game.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
And I thought it was funny, too, because it's like, I was 100% for the firing of Matt Eberflus, 1,000%. And I've said in the past, I'm critical of him. He does no defense. And so it was funny how we fire Matt Eberflus and we automatically lose the ability to play defense.
Yeah.
And then the positive of, okay, well, the offense will get better, that doesn't happen.
No.
So we actually suffer more. And again, you can say that it's probably a good thing that the Bears are losing all of these games. As much as I don't want to play the draft pick game.
Yeah.
When you're at the spot that the Bears are, you have to. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You know, I do want to talk about Thomas Brown for a second.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Thomas Brown because he's obviously in a terrible organization. And I want you to imagine people out there, Justin as well. Imagine if in 17 days you went from a low stakes kind of, you know, not easy, but kind of a low stakes position at work.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you're, you know, a representative or, you know, maybe you do something like that. And then 2 weeks later, you're running the whole company.
Yeah.
That's what Thomas Brown is dealing with right now. Like, I don't think is qualified. I don't think that he was, you know, ready to be a head coach. And he got this opportunity because Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus were just totally terrible at their jobs. And I feel bad for him because it's a poor reflection on him that the Bears are this bad. Yes. But also it's like if you were in that position where you just got promoted at work to a degree that you should not have, you know, you weren't ready for the opportunity.
Or you don't have the experience,
You don't have
right?
the experience. You don't have, you don't have the skills, like whatever. Like I'm 22. I could not be a CEO right now.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Thomas Brown, you know, he's been coaching the NFL for a few years. I know he's been an offensive coordinator. He would not have been a head coach anywhere else. And so I do feel bad for him. I hope that this doesn't hinder his coaching career going forward. But no, and also let's put a nail in the coffin of Thomas Brown becoming the next Bears coach.
Yeah.
If the Bears came out firing the last 5 games, I thought, oh, maybe the McCaskies would consider it. But definitely not. Definitely not.
No, and I mean honestly, if you're a true fan though, like I'm not saying I had full faith in Thomas Brown. I had doubts just like you did.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting him to be our head coach and then immediately save the franchise. It's bigger than just the coach that is why the Bears are struggling right now, you know?
Yeah, the Bears have a lot of issues in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And one of those issues, as I'm reading in comments, our run defense is awful. Pickens was a clear miss. I agree. They should have drafted George Pickens. Complete non-factor. Oh, they're talking about Zach Pickens. I'm sorry.
I was like, George Pickens. And I don't think
complete non-factor now, and he's playing. Dexter has been neutralized and hasn't been playing like earlier in the season. I agree that Dexter, he's not great in run defense. I think he's a pass rushing defensive tackle. Yeah. And I like the thought of having Pickens being, you know, more of a run guy and then Dexter getting the passer, but I agree Pickens has been a huge miss. Like he is I don't notice him at all during games. No. And like the best defensive tackle is like you cannot watch a Chiefs game without seeing Chris Jones every few plays. Yep. Leonard Williams for the Seahawks. Shout out Leonard Williams. But you can't these really good interior linemen, you can't go without seeing them. Right. And Zach Pickens, like I don't even know if he shows up for the game. Like I don't he could be like at home like with his feet up, sipping a cocktail, and I wouldn't know because he just doesn't show up.
He makes no impact, yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, the Bears, they have some holes. That is for sure.
For sure. Yeah. I kind of want to go into one of the questions I had too. Obviously with I almost said Shane Waldron. That's not who's playing.
It's a PTSD.
It's a PTSD
kicking it, man.
Because Thomas Brown wasn't our OC, obviously switching over the defense, we never really talk about our defensive coordinator a lot. Yeah. You know, he's been kind of quiet, but how much blame does Eric Washington get yesterday for the terrible defensive performance he had, or his team had?
I think, and I don't know, because I almost would blame Matt Eberflus again, like just compact on the Matt Eberflus.
The ghost of Matt Eberflus is still haunting us.
Again, part of the responsibility of a head coach is to hire quality coordinators. Yeah. And the fact that when he got fired, his coordinator is now running the defense, they immediately give up 38 in the blink of an eye. Yeah. That's another indictment on Matt Eberflus. Now, Eric Washington, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he came from Buffalo, right? Buffalo, again, another defensive coach, Sean McDermott. They had Leslie Frazier there for a while, who was a defensive coordinator. So you would think that, you know, this guy would kind of know how to run defense, but clearly not. Again, another poor coordinator hire. I mean, just just disastrous. Like his 2 offensive coordinator hires were Luke Getsy and Shane Waldron.
Yeah.
Terrible. Alan Williams last year. We don't even need to open up that can of worms.
Nope.
And then Eric Washington, who hasn't been good either now. So, again, it circles just back to this poor decision making the Bears have made, just everything like that.
Yeah.
But he does deserve blame because, like you said, we had a long week. We played last Thursday. We played on Thanksgiving. It's December 8th, right? So it was December 8th yesterday. So clearly there was some disconnect there. But
for sure.
I don't know. I guess last thing before we jump into our next segment, like, do you expect the Bears to play better the next 4 games of the year? Do you expect them to? Do you expect the players to quit? Like, how do you expect this Bears team to play over the last 4 games of the year?
Whew, that's a good question. Honestly, I think it's going to be a mixture of how each game will go. If we finish out the last 4 games and we get completely blown out, then they're not going to want to play. I mean, they will play, but they're not going to want to play with effort. Their season's over. They're thinking about their vacations and being back. Cancun, or with their families. So if you're a suffering team like the Bears and I was the coach, I mean, I don't know, because I want to be able to get a good draft pick, but I don't want to seem like I'm tanking to everyone else.
Well, the players, I mean, a lot of the players, they don't care about draft pick, but if you're a Bears fan, I mean, we're in a spot where a loss is beneficial.
Yes.
A win does us nothing but worse than our draft pick. And as much, I think the only game this year that I would want the Bears to win is I would want the Bears to win in Lambeau Week 18.
That would be nice.
But with the way the season's going and with the way that the Packers are playing and the Packers, they're going to need to win this game.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit on air, and, you know, one of our coworkers mentioned how, like, of course, now the Bears are going to start winning. And I said, I don't know, because Minnesota is playing for their position in the NFC North. They're only a game behind Detroit, who is the current number 1 seed in the NFC. Detroit is playing for the number 1 seed in the NFC, home field advantage, which is massive, especially if they have to play the Eagles. You definitely want to play those guys not in Philadelphia. You got to play Seattle, who is currently leading their division by only a game. They have razor-thin margins. And then you're going to play the Packers, who, again, are competing for a spot in the NFC wildcard. So all of these teams have major incentive to win, and the Bears don't. So it's going to be really hard for me to say that the Bears are just going to turn it around and play great and everything like that. But, yeah, I don't know. Realistically, we're both thinking they're going to go 0-4, right?
Yes, 100%. Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So the Bears then, that would be insane, because then the Bears would have gone from 4-2, a Hail Mary away from 5-2, to ending the year 4-13, ending on an 11-game losing streak.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think, honestly, like, and I'm not a psychologist, I'm not, a brain surgeon. I spell it Brian half the time. I don't really know anything, whatever. I wonder if psychologically something broke in that Bears team during that Hail Mary.
Oh, for sure.
I think the ramifications of that Hail Mary stretch far beyond the loss of 1 game.
Yes.
I think that broke the Bears.
Plus, you had Tyreek Stevenson doing his antics. So, it just was a combination of everything that happened, and then it just completely.
Because the Bears, the first 6 games of the year, I'm not going to act like they were a Super Bowl team.
No.
But they beat the Rams.
Yeah.
They beat, the Jaguars. They looked great against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I expected the Bears to be a bubble playoff team. I thought
so
7,
too.
8, maybe 9 wins.
Yeah.
They're going to win 4?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay.
I was at least expecting 5 or 6 or maybe 7 if we got lucky.
Yeah.
I could see if it was just Caleb Williams and a bunch of bums, but we have Pro Bowl receivers. So it just didn't make sense to me, but I'm right there with you.
All right. Let's talk about the NFL draft. Now, Bears fans have been talking about this. I mean, we haven't won a game. Fun fact, the Bears have not won a game in America since October 6th.
Crazy.
It is December 9th.
Yeah.
For those of you wondering. All right. Let's talk about the draft. So the Bears currently, if there is some light at the end of the tunnel, the Bears currently do have some very good draft picks.
They do.
Currently, the Bears have the 9th overall pick in the draft. I expect that to get better as the Bears continue to lose games.
Oh, yeah.
And currently, The Bears have pick 36 from the Carolina Panthers, who are also having a bad season. That trade is continuing to pay dividends.
Yes.
And we have pick 41, our own pick. We have a 3rd-round pick, a 5th-round pick, a 6th, 2 7s. I think it's pretty clear that the Bears need to nail this draft.
They do.
They cannot have another, we missed on a 1st-round guy, our 5th-round pick got cut in training camp. They can't do that.
Yeah.
They need to select multiple quality contributing players. Justin, we're picking at 9 right now. Say end of the year we're picking 6, 7. Who are you taking in the 1st round?
And I'm pretty confident that this guy will still be on here. And by my picks, you'll kind of know my trend of where I'm going with this. I'm going to go with Kelvin Banks, offensive line, Texas, which I think for myself, that's all we need to – I mean, we need to focus on every, position. But that's the one that we have been talking about all year long of protecting Caleb so he doesn't get sacked, so he has enough time to throw, so he doesn't rush and almost hurts himself even worse trying to rush.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's one of the top-rated, offensive linemen in this draft. And I think if we don't get a good – I'll say this. Let's say we don't get a offensive lineman in our 1st-round pick. We better have a few in this 2nd round in our remaining rounds that we have draft picks in. Or else, like I said before, Poles will be on the hot seat. We talk about this all the time, how he played as an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think like, I know what it means to be in this position and how important it is to be able to protect your quarterback. We've seen it with a lot of different teams this season. So it just that's my number 1 pick. I have another O-line guy, Wyatt Millam, West Virginia. Same thing, LSU, Will Campbell. And I do have one defensive guy, Mason Graham, Michigan. I think that, I think definitely we have a good defense, but as we listed before, there are a couple of players that are kind of So I think by adding in some youth in this defensive lineup will help us tremendously. So, and my last one was which is not a wild card, but after doing some quick research, guard Tyler Booker, Alabama, which I know, big Bama fan.
Yeah, Tyler Booker, I wouldn't take him at 9, but
I wouldn't take him at 9
might
either.
be there at 36.
No. Yes.
That would be a good to double up.
I agree with you.
I think it's undoubtedly true that the Bears need to take someone in the trenches in the 1st round.
Yeah.
And in the 2nd round. And in the 5th round. And probably one of the 7s. The Bears, they need to improve their trenches. I would prefer greatly an offensive lineman. Will Campbell would be my pick. I think he's the best tackle in this draft. You mentioned Banks out of Texas. He's awesome. Texas, they just produce linemen every year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
No, I love the lineman. I love the defensive lineman, Mason Graham. He would be exceptional as well. You could nitpick and say, well, the Bears probably need an edge, and I might agree with you, but I think Mason Graham would be a nice pick as well. But the Bears need to address the trenches because right now they're getting beat on both sides of the ball.
They are.
We get, again, our comments that our run defense is getting blown up. It's absolutely the truth. Our offensive line, they couldn't stop a nosebleed, and it's terrible. So 100,000,000,000% take an offensive lineman or take a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
I would advise strongly to take an offensive lineman, and if you do take a defensive lineman in the 1st round, you better take 2 in the 2nd round.
Yeah, I'm going to say double up on
Tyler Booker might be there in the 2nd round. I pick 36.
I think so.
If the Panthers keep losing, that pick's going to get better, and the Bears,
for sure, yeah,
41 will get better. You need to take offensive and defensive linemen.
Yeah,
1,000%. The key to Detroit being as good as they are, their key is they said, we are going to become the best team in the trenches. Taylor Decker is an all-pro caliber tackle.
Yep.
Penny Sewell is an all-pro caliber tackle. Frank Ragnow, center, is really, really good. Glasnow, really, really good. They signed Kevin Zeitler. They have invested so much in this offensive line. And what happens? They are the best running team in football. And Jared Goff looks like Joe Montana. Yeah. Because he has 25 seconds per pass attempt to sit back there, read the defense, figure out what's going on, and deliver the ball. Yeah. Probably, paint his nails maybe. That's a Caleb thing.
File some taxes.
File
crazy.
some taxes. It's tax season, so get your taxes done. I'm just kidding. And then defensively, I know they're banged up, but Aiden Hutchinson has been a tremendous edge rusher for them.
He was, yeah.
And if you can rush the passer and you can protect your passer, you're going to win a lot of games.
You are, yeah.
The problem is Bears do the opposite of that. Their pass rush isn't great. Montez Sweat. I think I've come around to Montez Sweat. He's not a game breaker edge rusher. He's not a TJ Watt. He's not a Myles Garrett. He's not a Michael Parsons. But I think he's a really solid edge rusher. I think that he needs some compliments from the opposite field. I think he needs another edge rusher on the other side.
Yeah.
Another guy I'll mention to you, and again, I don't know if I would take him this high, so you'd maybe have to hope that he slips to the second round. James Pierce out of Tennessee.
Yeah, that's a good one.
A lot of potential. People are talking about him as a high first-round pick. I've seen him graded, like, it's been very variable. I've seen him graded top 5. I've seen him graded in the second round. Maybe you can hope the Bears get him later on. But for the love of God, do not draft a skill position player.
No, we don't need it.
You don't need wide receivers.
We don't.
And you don't need corners.
You don't.
You need a safety, but wait. Like, you can wait. I know Malachi Starks is good. You don't have to take him in the first round. Like, please, do not do that.
Yeah.
The Bears need to take offensive linemen, and they need to take defensive linemen. Now, there is one player I think that is very, very interesting, Justin, and I'll ask you. Would you be upset if the Bears took Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State, the guy that should win the Heisman Trophy? Yes, I said it. Probably won't. Travis Hunter's probably going to win.
Oh, for
sure.
But
But the guy who may or may not set the single-season college football rushing record this year.
Crazy.
Led Boise State to the college football playoff.
Yep.
He has been tremendous this year. Would you draft Jeanty if you were the Chicago Bears?
Honestly, I'm erring on the side of no, only because I don't know, like let's say if nothing changes and we get the 9th pick, I don't know if he'll be there by the time.
You think he might go before 9?
I think he might be, if he keeps playing the way he will, there will be a team that will bite on him, or there will be a team that'll be like, you know what, we need a star running back. Our run game's terrible. Let's scoop him up now. I think he doesn't, like, the lowest I could see him falling, if it's not to us potentially, 15. He's a top 15 pick. I mean, you've seen what he's done. He's breaking records. And if it wasn't for Hunter and all those other guys who are amazing Heisman candidates, he would win the Heisman.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say no, because what did we say earlier in this show? DeAndre Swift would be better if he had an offensive line.
Yeah.
And the same things, if we put, and I'm not saying, like, I guess if I look at both sides, you can be able to draft Ashton Jeanty, number 9, and then you kind of fill in the offensive lineman in the end. But if it's like terrible offensive linemen that we produce, or they're just not as good as what we thought they would be, Ashton Jeanty's going to look terrible. He's
going to look DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I'm like he's going to look like DeAndre Swift. And it's just like, I don't want a repeated cycle. I think Swift is a good running back, but also you got to protect him as well.
Yeah.
You got to be able to create space for him to get through the line. So I'm going to say no. As good as he looks, like, trust me, if we had like a terrible running back, I'd be like, put all of it in. But I'm just not sold. And I think we already have, like I said, we don't need, or like you were saying earlier, focusing on skill position players is not what we should be doing in this draft. We should be building within, build our way up. Let's pull a Detroit. Let's start building the interior line and our defensive line, and we can plug in from there. But we don't need any more skill position players. But
no, yeah. I agree, and I'll make 2 points. You saw in the 2023 draft, Bijan Robinson went pick 8 to the Falcons. Jahmyr Gibbs went pick 12 to the Lions. And so for all those of you, like I initially did when you said before 9, I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, yeah, I guess, running backs I think are coming back into the mainstream of getting taken high in the draft.
They do.
Let me propose to you one idea, though, before I give my thoughts. Genty's 5'8". He has a lot of tread on the tires in college.
Yes.
Could that, let's say we have pick 34 from Carolina. They give us pick 34, high second-round pick. He's there at pick 34. We've taken Will Campbell in the first round.
Yeah.
You pulling the trigger at 34?
I might because which in my opinion, I don't know if he's going to even sit that long. But
I don't think so.
Yeah, I was like, but if he does,
maybe
for some,
if he suffers an injury in the playoff game or something, which knock on wood, obviously.
Right.
But say he does fall.
Yeah.
Hypothetically,
I would take him. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, because DeAndre Swift is 20. I want to say 26, 27.
You keep talking. I'll look it up.
No, it's okay. So he's getting up there in age. He does have a lot of tread on his tires, and you hope he's not injury prone from breaking all these records.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think it's a bad risk. You still have a good running back in Swift. Let's say if Swift underperforms, you can throw GT in there and see what he can do. But also as well, one concern that I do have, well, it's not a concern, but I mean, Genty was he was the star of that team.
Yeah.
And will he be okay not getting the ball? Like, I think we'll run the ball a healthy amount of times to him if we do draft him, but it may not be as how it is now, how he's getting 15, 20 carries. Like, he's not going to get that in the NFL, and you're not going to get that with our team with having a really good quarterback. So, I would grab him. Why not?
All right.
But I think that's the only skill position player where I'm like, all right, pick him up, grab him. We don't need anybody else. I think running back's the only one where I wouldn't mind if we upgraded.
I've heard Bears fans talking about Travis Hunter. First of all,
he's a great guy, but not for our team.
First of all, he's going to go before the Bears even pick.
Oh,
That's
for
number
sure.
one. Number two, if the Bears are on the clock and he's still available, you trade down for somebody to take Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Who is a tremendous talent, but the two positions he plays, corner and receiver, we have.
Yeah.
Like the only positions we're good at. So, no, would I take Genty in the top 10? No, I would not. He is not the perfect running back draft prospect. Very, very good in college. We've seen a lot of really, really good running backs in college not be really, really good in the NFL.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Genty, but he is smaller. I don't think his speed is he doesn't have track level speed.
No.
Very, very good player. I think I would honestly be kind of shaking in my boots if he went to the team the Rams.
Oh, that'd be deadly,
dude. If he goes to Kansas City,
oh man,
I'm not watching football next year. I'm not doing.
No,
I'm lying.
No.
But if he goes to a team with a good offensive line, with other good talented players around him, if he went to Buffalo, it would be nasty.
Oh, that'd be sick.
If he went to, I'm trying to think. The Ravens got. Eagles are good. I don't know. I'm trying to think who else would be just nasty. Atlanta just took a running back. I don't know. There's a lot of teams that I think,
could use his services.
Yeah, would really benefit from Genty. Honestly, the Dolphins would be nasty.
Yeah, it would be.
They could use it. I know A-Chain's there, but they're not a consistent running team. But no, the Bears. Just ignore everything. Don't go on YouTube. Don't watch the highlights. I don't care. Draft an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Sometimes the boring pick, it's not, sexy, it's not whatever. That's the pick you need to make to win games.
Yeah.
And I think a great example of that is the draft last year. We saw the Chargers, right? Jim Harbaugh coming in. We're going to have a new coach coming in. And he was in a position to where he could have taken Malik Neighbors and Roma Dunze and Brock Bowers. And he said, no, I want the offensive tackle. Give me Joe Alt. And Jim Harbaugh has this philosophy of physicality that he's always brought to all of his teams.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that Jim Harbaugh has been successful in college, then the NFL, then back in college, now back in the NFL. He's been successful everywhere he's been. That's his philosophy, is to be good up front.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, he had, Joe Staley. He had Mikey Iupati, the guard. Coming into Michigan, those guys were always good up front. Zach Zinter last year especially. Now in Los Angeles, Slater was there. Took Joe Alt, and Joe Alt's been awesome. Take the tackle.
Yeah.
I don't just take an offensive tackle, please.
Yep.
Protect Caleb Williams.
Please.
Is it really that hard?
Yeah.
Right? Is it really that hard to just go out and protect Caleb Williams? All right.
No, not at all.
Draft's in April, so we have some time to wait on that. We have 4 months?
Yeah.
4.5 months until we see who the Bears take. Hopefully the Bears and the Panthers keep losing.
Yes.
So our draft picks get even better. But unfortunately for the Bears, they still have some games to play. Week 15, they're playing at Minnesota on Monday Night Football. This might be the Monday Night Massacre, Justin.
Oh, yes.
Talk to me just about this game, about the matchups, about what you're looking for against the Vikings on Monday.
I'm just looking for us not to be embarrassed, but to say that will not happen. I'm not confident that we will compete. We are away this game, so as we just saw yesterday against the Falcons. Oh my goodness! I mean, they killed them. They absolutely killed them. And I mean, in the last game that we played against the Vikings, obviously Justin Jefferson didn't play well, but you know who did?
Well, Justin Jefferson caught 2 touchdowns.
I mean, he did, but I mean, like he
played really well.
I mean, he didn't. Oh, I'm sorry, he didn't play. He didn't knock his socks off. But there were other players in the Vikings that played extremely well, and I think as well, like we were at home, so definitely when you're the away team, the advantage does sometimes go to the home team. But I think we're getting waxed this game.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that guys like Montez Sweat can be able to somehow get to Sam Darnold. I'm hoping that Tyreek Stevenson can somehow guard Justin Jefferson, but I feel like every season nobody can guard Justin Jefferson. No. So
Yeah, when you were just talking about Justin Jefferson, what I thought you meant was last week against Atlanta, or yesterday against Atlanta, and I was like, well.
No, I was like, I don't think he had 2 touchdowns versus us. I was like,
well, he had a $132 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the Bears.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Bears.
That was my
fault. No, it's all good.
No, that was my mistake. And they were talking. I was watching the Falcons Vikings game yesterday, and part of what the broadcasters were talking about, which I completely agree with, is that Justin Jefferson is the best decoy in the NFL.
Yes,
because defenses are so
worried about
him. They're peeing down the side of their leg trying to guard him.
Yeah,
that they have to devote so much attention, so much of the coverage. They have to shift to safety. They have to play a corner. They have to have whatever. And what that allows is, oh hey, Minnesota, we have other good offensive skill position players. Yep. Jordan Addison yesterday. 8 receptions, 133 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Crazy.
Shout out Jordan Addison. He was on my fantasy team. I just want to make that very clear. Anyway,
some points in.
Justin Jefferson also had a great game. 7 for 132, 2 tuds. T.J. Hawkinson's getting more and more involved coming off the knee injury. 4 for 45 yards. This Vikings team is rolling. They are 11-2. If I would have told you the day that J.J. McCarthy tore his ACL. If I told you after 13 games they would be 11-2, they just won a game in which Sam Darnold threw 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, and they are 1 game off of the number 1 seed in the NFC. Would you have, pinched yourself because you thought you were in a nightmare? Like, what?
I would have thought you were talking about like a Madden, like my GM situation. My franchise mode,
right,
where you're trading for like Patrick Mahomes, or you like turn off the salary cap rules to be able to do what you need to do. Yeah, I wouldn't believe you. I would not believe you. This almost feels, which might be controversial, but this almost feels like 2017's Eagles-ish, where you have a
I like that comparison.
Well, no, because think about it.
Backup quarterback
goes down. The team still performs pretty well, and it's just an utter shock for our whole division. I mean, Detroit's 12-1, Minnesota's 11-2, Green Bay is 9-4, and they're the quote unquote. I believe it's Minnesota's the wild card technically right now, right?
Well, they're both in the wild card.
Yeah, they're both in the wild card.
Minnesota's the 5, and then Green Bay would be the 6 right now.
Yeah. So and they all have really great records, and it's just insane. I would in 100 million years, I would have never expected the NFC North to be one of the best divisions of football, and then you just have us at 4-9.
Well, it's funny because if you told me, hey, right now the Lions are 12-1, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I would
have
the year the Packers are 9-4. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. They're a pretty good team. And then you told me the Vikings were 11-2. I'd be like, the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the Nordic Vikings, like back in the day, or are we talking about the present day Minnesota Vikings with Sam Darnold?
I would have thought Brett Favre was on the team or something.
Right, Brett Favre, reversed the clock 20 years. He unretired for the 5th time and came back.
Yep.
Sam Darnold has been such a success story, and I think this goes to prove every team in the NFC North but the Bears has exceptional coaching.
Yes.
And Kevin O'Connell is the spitting image of how much good coaching can elevate a team.
Yeah.
In the case of Sam Darnold, one specific player.
Yeah.
We all like to talk about Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith, who have revived their careers and found new homes and have been great. Sam Darnold went from one of the biggest busts ever. Like Geno and Baker were never like bust. Well, I guess
they had hype, and
Geno was a second-round pick. Baker was the number one pick. Both of them had, a few flashes here and there. Baker, had more ups than Geno did on the Jets. But, by and large, they weren't considered like biggest busts ever.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold was a bust.
He was.
He was terrible. He was terrible on the Jets. He was bad on the Panthers. And he goes and backs up San Francisco. And I thought, well, this guy's destined to just be a backup quarterback for, the next 10 years or whatever. Yeah. Which, by the way, is the best job on planet Earth. Yeah. Making millions of dollars and not having to play, whatever.
Yeah, crazy.
And I was like, okay, he's just destined to be a backup. This year, the Vikings brought him in for $10 million, which is
a steal.
Nothing for quarterbacks. And I was like, all right, he's going to start half the year. JJ's going to take over. Or maybe he starts this year. JJ takes over next year. I'm thinking that
JJ might have a spot next
year,
bro.
My brother, you lost your job before you even got it.
Yeah, exactly. Know, you might as well start looking at other teams.
Selling insurance, bro. I don't know, dude. It's looking rough. But that does bring up the dilemma for the Vikings of if you give Sam Darnold a big extension this year or not.
Yeah.
And that, we're not Vikings talk today.
Sure, no.
So we don't have to weigh in for too much. But I think that conversation is more interesting than the conversation about the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Sam Darnold has earned himself probably $100 million this year.
Yeah.
So good for him. Pales in comparison to what Juan Soto made yesterday. So
insane.
Everybody watching out there, teach your children to hit a baseball.
Yeah. Start early so you can be set up for life.
Teach your children to hit a baseball. Make sure they're left-handed.
Yep.
That's the. If you take anything from this Bears episode, take that. Oh, I just hit the microphone. That's fun. But no, Sam Darnold has been playing incredible football. This Vikings team is rolling. Brian Flores has been tremendous. I will say, however, Caleb Williams was really good the last time he played the Vikings.
He was.
And if not for some defensive breakdowns, almost upset the Vikings in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. This game is in Minnesota. Like I said, the Vikings are very much still playing for something. They have the number one seed, within arm's reach of Detroit. And I'm pretty sure they play Detroit later on in the season. I'm going to double check that. But I do want to make sure they play the Bears, Seattle, which will be a good game. They play Detroit week 18.
Oh, that's going to be
a phenomenal game. The Bears will be playing Green Bay, so we'll have other things to worry about. But, I mean, if the Vikings can keep the distance within one game, they can then win the division. If you win the North, dude, you're getting the number 1 or the number 2 seed in the NFL.
Yeah.
So it'll very much come down to the wire. But to stay just in this game, the only thing I'm really watching for now for the Bears is, hey, does Caleb Williams look good?
Yeah.
Does he, I like that the stats are still good. It's one silver lining this year. And I love what you wrote, and I'm just going to show everybody. You wrote, can we not embarrass ourselves this week? I think that's the goal.
Oh,
I think that's the goal of this week against the Vikings. It's not to win. It's not to cover. Can the Bears just not embarrass themselves? I mean, I really think that's the key to this game. Justin, what else are your thoughts about this game, man?
I mean, we're just playing for draft picks and hoping Caleb plays well.
Yep.
That's the most important part to this season, really. And looking at how can we be better next season, because this season was a wash when the Bears won in London, and that was pretty much it.
Yep.
So
I think Caleb is auditioning for new coaches to come and want to coach him.
Sure. Yeah.
Like maybe he's auditioning for Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Maybe he's auditioning for Joe Brady.
I
don't know. I've seen, and we talked a couple of weeks ago about our ongoing coaching search, and that'll be a topic of conversation until January when they hire the guy. But I do want to say, like, I've heard a lot of people say that they need a culture changer. They don't need necessarily an offensive guru or a defensive guru. They need a culture changer. And yesterday I've definitely I've been pounding the table for Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
But yesterday I kind of did have the thought of like, yeah, they need kind of just a whole reset.
They do.
They need a whole
personnel.
They need a whole makeover. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Bar Rescue.
Yes. John Taft comes in, starts yelling.
Yeah. They
what
need
is
somebody
this?
To start yelling, to start throwing stuff.
Yeah.
They need
Gordon Ramsay, kitchen nightmares.
Kitchen nightmares. They Bears are an idiot sandwich right now. Is what they are.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
and
they are.
They need a complete overhaul. They need a complete reset. And I don't know who the guy is going to be to do that.
Yeah.
And we're kind of in the spot where we just kind of sit back and we hope and pray that somebody good comes to the Bears because, it's been – our last coaches, Eberflus was terrible. Matt Nagy, 1 good year. John Fox, terrible. Mark Trestman, terrible. Lovie Smith, love you to death. Thank you, Lovie Smith. Best coach ever in my lifetime, but still wasn't great, right?
No, yeah.
Before Lovie Smith, I was Wanstead, I believe. Dude, the Bears have not had a consistently good coach since Mike Ditka.
Yeah. And when Mike Ditka was coaching, neither of us were born.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Crazy.
Mike Ditka, who is obviously most known for being the Bears coach, but he's also known for trading all of his draft picks for one player.
Insane.
He said, I want Ricky Williams so bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you guys all of my draft picks and my first-round pick next year. So that the man that did that is our best coach ever, which is it's hard to be a Bears fan. Will the Bears? We also talked about will the Bears win another game?
No. Not at all.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up, I did want to, in lieu of the Bears' poor season, and in lieu of just the amalgamation of suckage that the Bears have had this year, I do want to give a shout out to one person in particular. Alex, could you please show the picture that I sent you, and we could throw that up there for everybody. So, guys, as you know, Alex is our producer. He's the GOAT. We love Alex, and he's been so helpful during the show. So I just want to give a big shout out to Alex and say thank you. This is our Christmas picture that we took a couple of days ago at a party we were at.
Yes,
and,
thank you, Alex.
Just with all the negativity, with all the everything bad going on with the Bears, I wanted to kind of show some love. It's almost Christmas.
Yes.
The Bears should hire Alex, honestly.
Alex Johnson.
I know he doesn't watch. He doesn't watch football. He doesn't care about the draft. I don't care.
Hey, he would do a hell of a lot better than what we have already been suffering through.
He couldn't be worse.
Yeah, he could not be worse.
Get Alex. I'm buying you a bus ticket to House Hall, buddy.
Yeah. See, that's why he's the GOAT. Yeah, he's the best.
We got a few more episodes of Bears talk before we can't sign off for a while, but no, just wanted to give a shout out to Alex, man.
Yes, thank you, bro.
But I think that pretty much does it for this episode.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for giving your I'm watching the replay.
Yeah, me too. I just saw it on the stream.
But no, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching our stream. Thank you so much for commenting, liking, reposting. Our picks for our head coaches last week really got a lot of traction. So thank you guys for giving your input. And until
hold on. One thing, we didn't give a score prediction. 452 to 3. That's my score prediction.
You know what? I'm not gonna say 400, but I will say 42 to 6.
42 to 6.
We're getting mollywopped.
Monday night mollywopping. Yeah. All right, you gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. All right, let's sign off. I'm hungry.
I am too.
And I'm sick of talking about the Bears.
Of course. All righty, guys. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Peace.